News from the NBA yesterday came out of Memphis, and we need Wendy to explain it to us. Here's the story. The Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane to the Magic. 4 unprotected first-round picks, plus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony go in this deal. But the headline is Desmond Bane traded away from the Grizzlies. And so, Wendy, this got your fingers up in the air. As I was watching your coverage of this yesterday during my travels, this reminded me a little bit of you talking about Utah, saying this is a very strange trade.
Why would they do that?
Why would they do this? Wendy, explain why this is so interesting and what could happen now.
Yeah, so it's trading one of their core players, a young guy under long-term contract, essentially for draft picks. Now, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has been a key player, role player on championship teams, but he really had a poor year last year. And so what the whole league was asking immediately in the wake of the trade is, what does this mean for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant and their immediate future? The message that the Grizzlies sent out to the whole league yesterday is that it means that we're retooling around them, that they're not looking to trade Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. However, there is some skepticism out there that this team is done making maneuvers, because the Western Conference is in an arms race right now, and without trying to put anything negative against Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, this was a downgrade in overall talent on paper. Now, they can back up, the Grizzlies can totally back up what they're doing here very simply. Both Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant can sign contract extensions this summer. This trade actually offloaded some salary to give them a little bit more that they can give Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. Let's see what they do. I do think it is an extension for Jaren Jackson is in process, and I would go so far as to say likely. Not so sure the same is true for Ja Morant, but I wouldn't overreact at this point to thinking that they're going to do something. At least they worked hard yesterday to keep that from being the perception out there.
Okay, so it's an interesting, and I'm thrilled that we have Wendy to bring that perspective. Let's live in a world where this is sort of up in the air here, which I think Wendy's not closing the door on that sort of thing. Each of you guys have interesting takes. Ja Morant, if you're Memphis, would you trade him?
Well, first off, Grinny, shout out to Anthony Parker in Orlando. I think they're going to be top 5 in the Eastern Conference with this move with Desmond Bane. I just have to say that.
Right.
If I'm Zach Kleiman, I know openly he said that he wasn't going to trade Ja Morant. I would just be open to it. I would consider it. I would see what fruits the market could bear on a guy. If I got 5 first-round picks for Desmond Bane, I wonder what I could potentially get for Ja Morant. And if you're a team that's stuck in the middle of the pack in the Western Conference, you have to be at this inflection point where you have to make this decision. Are you all in on Ja Morant as a leader? Do you still want to give him more time? There have been some things that have happened off the court. I often say this before. Unpredictability is not what you need when you're thinking about a franchise player. You need consistency. You need trust. The question is, does that front office have trust with Ja Morant long term?
He's 25 years old. He'll turn 26 this summer, Ja Morant. There was a moment in time when he was on the verge of being the next one. We sit here talking about who's the next face of the NBA. It was him. He had the shoes. He's got the style. He's got the game. We've seen all the things that have happened, both on and off the floor with him. Is he still that? Is he someone that a team should be looking to trade everything in the world to try and get and build a franchise around?
Not right now. I need to see more. I actually think, the value-wise on the open market, I think there'd be a lot of teams because of the issues that he's had. More recently, the memory is of the suspensions, the behavior, and also injuries. He and Zion were 1 and 2 in that draft, right?
Yes.
And those were 2 guys we thought easily could take the league, take the torch, and carry the league forward. Neither one of them have done it, and it has not because of what they've done on the basketball court. They've both been phenomenal when they're playing. The problem is all the other stuff that's going on. So Ja's got that right now on his case. So I wouldn't really be 5 first-round picks, again, Mikal Bridges and now Desmond Bane. I don't know if I'm ready to give my franchise to a player like this until he shows me that he can stay healthy and also not get into all the other issues.
25 years old. I mean, just again, I'm so careful where we can put Coach here because he's actively coaching another team right now. I know it's complicated, but when you watch him play, when you prepare for him and all that kind of stuff, what is Ja Morant right now?
Defensively, you got to put all hands on deck. He is still the guy, right? And one of the things when you're building an organization or building a franchise, depending on your market, like the Memphis Grizzlies have to draft well, and they've done that in drafting a guy like Ja Morant. you have a number one player, right? Obviously, he's got to get on the floor, stay healthy. We all know all those things. But with 3 weeks to go in the season, the Memphis Grizzlies in a tough Western Conference were the 4th seed. So if you take a look at that, and he was obviously the catalyst of that, so he's still a guy that can carry a team and be the number one guy. And that's what you have to have if you want to give yourself a chance to win championships.
Something weird was going on because that was happening, and then they fired the coach, like right in that
Well, and that
juncture
might have had something
there.
to do with Ja Morant. Keep that in mind as well. But if I'm looking at anybody, if you want to poach somebody off this roster, if you're a team that's wondering what's going on there, if you're doing the windy fingers as well, if I'm the Lakers and I'm the Warriors, I'm checking in on Jaren Jackson. He's due a contract, an extension, if he gets when he's got 1 year left. At 27, does he say to himself, is this where I really want to be for the rest of my career, or can I get better opportunities somewhere else? So those two teams, what a perfect fit he would be. It would cost a ton, but if you're trying to win a championship with Steph Curry or LeBron James, you'll put it all on the table for a guy like that.
We know, Wendy, that the Lakers need a big. I mean, Jaren Jackson, it feels like that would be, is that pie in the sky? Is that a dream scenario?
No,
is there a world?
No chance. No chance. Absolutely not worth the discussion. And look, I think that Jaren Jackson, he's now in position to sign a contract extension of over $200 million. I would feel like that's very strongly going to happen. On the Ja Morant front, that's a different discussion. I would kind of be surprised if the Grizzlies were willing to give a $200 million extension to Ja at this point. And I would just say that as far as a Ja Morant trade, this would be a terrible time to trade him. Even if you wanted to, his value is not where it is. The changes that they made at coach were designed to make Ja more comfortable. So I find the Grizzlies saying that they're, going to keep these two guys very plausible. What I don't find plausible is that they're done making moves, because this move doesn't make them look like they're getting better in a very difficult Western Conference.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk about the really big move, the shoe that we're all waiting to drop, and it is on the foot of Kevin Durant. The Suns are lining up their trade partners. He has listed the Heat, the Spurs, and the Rockets, KD has, as his preferred destinations. The Suns have made it clear they'll make the best deal for their franchise, even if it means trading KD to a team outside of that list. So, Winman, what do we need to know?
Let me describe this as the Durant triangle, Greeny. I want you to think about the three sides of this, okay? To make a Durant trade, you need the Suns to be happy with the offer. That's most important. 2, you need KD, in theory at least, to be somewhat comfortable with where he's going. And 3, the team that he's going to has to be comfortable with the contract. And what I mean by that, he's got 1 year left at about $55 million. Durant may not want to sign an extension with you if you're not on the preferred list. Are you comfortable with that? Or if you are comfortable getting him, are you willing to give him a 2-year contract with over $120 million, which is what his number would be? Getting all of those things into alignment is going to be very difficult. And that is why you see a number of teams into this, and it could still go a number of different directions.
What do you think?
I think it's great that he gave us a list. I still go back to Minnesota, and I still go back to a potential 1-year deal. Do you do something like that with Anthony Edwards to give you your best shot of winning a championship? Because I don't know how Kevin Durant reacts in year 2 or year 3 of a relationship. So maybe I hedge that bet and I take that 1-year deal so he can be matched up with Anthony Edwards, and these two can go and try to destroy the Western Conference together.
Look, every franchise has its own path, right? Or its own different history, I guess, is what I'm trying. What I'm trying to say is the Timberwolves have never been in the finals. Yeah. This is not the Lakers. This is not a team where winning you're accustomed to. If you find a way to get Minnesota to win a championship 1 year, even if it means, to me, maybe this is easy for me to say, but even if it means mortgaging a little bit of your future, taking a risk on bringing in KD for just 1 year, whatever the case may be, if you think that wins you a championship for a franchise that has never come close, I think that it's worth doing.
Again, this is the back-to-back Final Four appearances, so you're getting to the conference finals, you're not getting over the top. You have a decision to make with Julius Randle, a guy that you're going to have to pay going forward, who's been a big part of what you've done to get back to another conference final. So that's a piece you have to consider. Or do you want to upgrade it to one of the elite scorers in the history of the game and put him with your young star, Anthony Edwards, that they already have built-in chemistry?
KD is aging. He'll be 37 in the fall, but he's still ridiculous. His numbers are ridiculously good. When you're preparing for him, how different is he now from what he was 10 years ago?
He's still just as efficient, as crazy as that may sound. His length, where he releases his shot from, he doesn't need a ton of dribbles to get to what he wants, and he fits in everywhere he goes. There's not a system or a player that he cannot play with, or a system that he cannot fit in. he is and, has been one of our most efficient scorers that the NBA has ever seen.
Windman, take us through these teams. We keep bringing up Minnesota. I keep bringing the Knicks into the conversation. What else should we be looking at?
From what I understand, the three teams on Durant's list, Miami, San Antonio, and Houston, have not made offers that have gotten Phoenix excited to this point. To this point is very important. Minnesota was aggressive at midseason, and Minnesota, from what I understand, has been the most aggressive team in these trade talks. I do think Toronto is lurking out there. Toronto is making the number 9 pick in this draft, in addition to some players available in multiple different scenarios. And I think the LA Clippers are lurking out there as well. But I would say right now, if I had to put a favorite, I definitely think Minnesota is the team that's been most aggressive.
Okay, so you got Minnesota, you got Anthony Edwards, you got KD. We'll put it all together. I'd love to strong impression before the Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau, but just actually having interviews will be a step in the right direction for the Knicks. They had previously been denied permission to speak by teams to speak to Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, Chris Finch, Quinn Snyder, and Billy Donovan. And as we dive into whom they may hire and what they really want and all the rest of that, and Wendy wasn't here for this, we got a lot of reaction. There's a whole new audience joining us here. JB, I wonder if you could just share again your thoughts. You were very passionate about this over the weekend, and then we talked about it earlier here. Just the disposable nature sometimes, it seems, of head coaches in the NBA as one who grew up in this industry, the way it makes you feel.
It's difficult, right? Like, we are extremely fortunate and extremely blessed to have the jobs that we have. There's no doubt about that. And you're not here listening to me, cry over sour milk. Like, my family's blessed, I've been blessed, all those things. But what you want and what we deserve is the respect from the people who are judging us. Like, these guys go out and sacrifice night in, night out, what we do with our families, the things we miss, and do a good job, right? And I think, to me, that's the most important thing. If you're going to do a good job, you should be rewarded at the end of the day. There is a level, in my opinion, of disrespect towards coaches and the quality of what they bring to organizations. Coaches are leaders. They're culture setters. They're the guys who establish, the direction of the team every single night on the floor. It's a partnership with our players, don't get me wrong. But if you find the right guy, believe in that guy and stand by that guy when things get difficult. That's how you find sustainable success in this league. Look at all the good teams, great organizations in this league. Consistency is the most important thing. And, again, as a coach, my responsibility to get up here, beat my chest a little bit about it. But we got to start standing up for coaches and the jobs that they do.
It's well said. And Wendy, I just wonder how much of that you've been hearing. This is not a new phenomenon this year, but we see Mike Malone wins the championship. 2 seasons later, he's fired with 3 games left in the year. Tom Thibodeau takes a team further than it had been in this millennium, and he gets fired. It does feel as though maybe this is the apex of this situation. What are you hearing around the league on this, Wendy?
Well, I can explain it very easily. It's the coach is the first and easiest person to blame. The players aren't going to blame themselves. The front office isn't going to blame itself, and the ownership isn't going to blame itself. And so it's easiest to fire the coach. So often the easiest thing is what happens. And I think that's been the case. And one of the things that seems to have happened this year is there's been a sort of a red line of where you couldn't fire a coach and really live with the embarrassment. That seems to have been obliterated. Even with a guy like Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins. Mike Brown, the candidates for this job, Mike Brown is won Coach of the Year, led the Kings to the playoffs, got extended last summer and didn't make it to Christmas. Taylor Jenkins, the most successful coach the Grizzlies have ever had, was fired with 10 games left in the season. The baseline for what means success in the league is pretty much evaporating.
And a lot of it, I think people perceive to be the players making a lot of these calls. And Magic Johnson, who may have been at the forefront of that as so many other things, and he talked about it openly, when he got Paul Westhead fired from the Lakers in the early 80s, he felt like all the pressure was on him. And of course, it worked out well. They hired Pat Riley, proved to be a good decision. But he was on this show on Thursday saying the same thing, that same level of pressure now transfers to the players on the Knicks.
The players wanted him gone. There's a lot of pressure on them players next season because now if you fire the coach and this is what you wanted, now you got to step up. All the excuses are gone now. Next season, Brunson, if Karl Anthony Towns comes back, all you guys, the pressure's on them.
it's a variety of those kinds of circumstances, Alan, that you might think, wow, this is a super attractive job. Here's a team that made a deep run, but there's a lot of pressure and a lot of coming from a lot of different directions on whoever sits in that chair.
And it's New York. No pressure there. Let's start with that. Start with the expectations part of it, and then start with the fact that if, again, Magic's saying it, and he's right, it's that the players and their influence is what led to moving on from the most successful coach that you have had in 25 years. Consecutive seasons, 50 wins. They haven't done that since Pat Riley was head coach in the early 90s. So, but they felt it was enough that the players were not comfortable, whatever the complaints were. So whatever coach comes in, the standard's already going to be 50 wins and that worst conference finals, just for that coach. But he's not the first one that's going to take the blame out of the gate. It's going to be now. Well, now, see, to me, it's players. It's also going to be Leon Rose, because Leon Rose has built this team, and Leon Rose was the one that decided the coach had to go first. So there's tons of pressure there.
We had speculation here that some of those no's might not be in ink, right? Some of the no's that they heard from these other teams could be in pencil. What are we expecting here on the Knicks coaching situation?
Well, I think the Knicks really do believe, regardless of what's happened, they have a very good job. And that they have a roster that you can walk into and be very successful, especially with the unfortunate injury to Jason Tatum and the Celtics potentially retooling. There is a belief that they could be back in the conference finals next year, contending to get to the finals, and that the coach